I pledge the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We can have roll call. Mrs. Boyce? Here. Mr. Bova?
Here.
Mrs. Burns?
Here.
Mrs. Delaney?
Here.
Mrs. McBride? Here. Ms. Mungo?
Here.
Mr. Ritter?
Here.
Mrs. Warning?
Here.
All right, so we had executive session after last week's meeting, and that we discussed HR issues, personnel issues until 7:28. Tonight, we also had executive at 5:30, also discussing personnel. So do we have any comments from residents on agenda items? Yes, you want to go to the mic, please? Thank you.
Say my name.
Yes, please.
My name is Christian Clacker, athletic trainer here at Gateway High School. Obviously, I know that the athletic training contract is up for proposal, and I kind of have a feeling I know how it's going to go. I'm going to try not to get emotional. I would just like to thank everybody for letting me be here for 19 years. It's been a great 19 years. I built some great relationships with both kids, parents, coaches, and I hope to continue those. I don't blame anybody for their decision. You vote how you feel you need to vote, obviously. I hold no grudges. I love my job, and I'm never going to sell out to somebody else. So, and like I said, I don't blame any of you guys for voting how you vote. You vote the way you want to vote, and I totally understand that, and I totally understand a lot of times it's a money thing, and that's just how it has to be sometimes. So again, I would just like to thank everybody for letting me and Sbrm be here for them 35, 40 years. I can't remember how many, 39 years, and me personally 19 years. I'd like to thank you all. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I just want to say you've been phenomenal with my family. And I haven't had my son follow in your footsteps. But it's not a personal thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's being a board. You have to be fiscally responsible. And
So Chris, I'd like to say the exact same thing as Val. I mean, what a treasure you've been to the school district. And one of the things that we throttled each other with at the most recent discussion was how Gateway, or whether corporations in the United States reward loyalty. They used to. People would work for 30 years for U.S. Steel.
Right.
They would be loyal to a corporation, and the corporation would find ways to reward that loyalty. I regret that we don't have the ability to do that nowadays. If it comes down to money, we can't also find a way to create an additional piece that can reward loyalty. So it just comes down to folks like, Val or me or many of the other people here that you've treated, that love you, that know you, to say thank you very kindly for all the great service that you and ESMC has offered us over the years. I don't know how better to say it than that, but thank you very kindly.
That's well said. Thank you. Any other residents online via Zoom? I can't see. I don't have my glasses on. There's one. Okay. All right. So board member discussion items. Anyone? Any update on the pouches, the cell phone pouches?
we haven't discussed anything, so.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right, so, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
John makes the motion.
Second.
call.
Mr. Bova.
Yeah, sure, aye.
Mrs. Burns. Aye. Mrs. Delaney.
Aye.
Mrs. McBride.
Aye.
Ms. Mungo.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mrs. Boyce.
Aye. Ayes carry. All right. Turn it
All
over.
right. Mike, we have financial reports.
Thanks, Dr. Rossi. Item number 5, financial reports. Item 5.1, approve the list of bills. Item 5.2, approve the financial statements as listed. And item 5.3, budget transfers as listed.
All right, I need a motion.
Motion to accept.
Second. All right, and I have a question, Mike.
Sure.
So the STA, can you explain, I mean, it's almost $500,000 we spent on STA. Is that for all transportation needs for the district or those students who, and for those students who live in the district but go to schools elsewhere?
That's everything. That's about what we pay them every month. That's for public and non-public.
Okay, and does it also include our sporting events? Because I saw
Yes.
$6,000 separate.
Yes, that's everything. But they bill us, they invoice us for athletics, non-public and public and traditional regular students.
Okay,
That includes the vans, the buses, but they bill us every month.
that's what we pay every month.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And is the leasing for the copiers, that's monthly also?
Yes.
Okay. And have we ever thought about doing a survey regarding the charter schools? How can we bring those kids back, or kids who are, parents who are thinking about sending their kids to charter? I just started looking at, it's a lot.
It is a lot. It's obviously budget season. We've talked about ways to reach out to them first off and see why, and then really kind of talk to them about what we have to offer here. So we are in the process of kind of looking at that, but we have to break it up by building and just kind of make sure that we can give you that out. In the budget, I know what other schools do. They have a marketing/communications person that would actually call those individuals. So that's in the budget as a one. So that could be something that individual would do if hired.
Okay.
Have we looked at opting out for students that don't ride a bus? That we would not need as many buses? Is that something that's, I know other districts?
Every student has to have a seat,
Correct.
whether they ride the bus or not. We get paid per student, and we get reimbursed by PDE.
I just look
I
at,
know, it killed me when I sit there and
Empty
see
buses.
some of these buses, and I see a mile, traffic jam for a mile coming down over there. We get paid there has to be a seat on that bus per student. That's how we get reimbursed. We do the PDE forms. And getting back to your charter schools, as part of Governor Shapiro's budget, it didn't pass it, but he wants to try to make a flat rate across the board for every school district of $8,000. That's for regular ed students. That would be in a savings, that's like $1.5 to $1.6 million if it goes through. That's a proposal. But I think something's gonna finally happen with the charter school mess in Harrisburg.
That wouldn't be true for special ed children. That would still
Special ed's a different
would be
rate.
the exception to the rule.
Right,
that's a
Right,
different
that would
rate.
be, always be a
Yeah.
separate
But it's a
issue.
start in the right direction.
Yeah, I saw the $8,000.
Yeah, when you're looking at those numbers and you start calculating, I'm like, whoa, wait, let me do that again. It seems,
Well, I gotta figure out where all the money comes from for this too, so.
right? We're trying to help you.
No, we're good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I've often wondered, when students move into the district from elsewhere, and they were in a cyber school, say they're in a surrounding district, they were going to a cyber school through that district, and that district was paying. Then when they come here and move for whatever reason.
Right.
That would be a good group of students, because then it becomes our responsibility to pay for that
Right.
cyber school.
Once we
even
get
though-
proof of residency, we're on the hook
Right,
for
so
them.
then we're on the hook even though they moved here from somebody.
Right.
So that would be a good group of students to want to know, if you've moved here, why don't you give
Right.
Gateway a shot and see how we do versus this?
Yeah, anything.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think Dr. Rossi has some really good ideas moving forward, how to get these kids back,
You have to share.
to start.
Curious to hear.
Yeah.
All right, we have no more questions. I know Val made the motion, I think John second. Susan second, okay. So go ahead, roll call.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney?
Aye.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Ms. Mungo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
All right. Motion carried. So, items previously tabled, we have none.
Personnel?
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. On the personnel agenda, we would like the board to approve the following resignations. 6 employees for employment, 2 leave of absences, 1 transfer, 4 supplementals, and 10 volunteers.
So moved.
You need a roll call? Just all in favor?
No, roll call.
All roll call. Okay.
Questions or comments?
Any questions, comments?
For the SRO. You didn't listen to her. She said to turn it off.
Just trying to forward something to Mike.
Okay, the SRO.
Yes.
Where was this individual?
At Ramsey Elementary.
So is there a coverage or what's going on with that?
Presently, it's being covered by Monroeville Police.
On Fridays
Okay,
and sometimes Monday.
okay. Also, the leaves of absences, that looks like we've got one for school year.
Yes, it's intermittent leave versus continuous for the other one.
We have someone to fill these positions when they're out.
Yes.
Okay. Making sure, thank you. And, go ahead.
Is the employment, the HR specialist, is that Patty's previous position?
Yes.
How many candidates went through the last couple of?
We had over 100 applicants in all. We narrowed it down to 18 initially, took a second glance at it, narrowed down to 10. We scheduled all 10 attempted to schedule all 10 for a round 1 interview, had 8 show up. Of those 8, we then moved down to 4 for round 2, and then 2 for round 3 with Dr. Rossi and myself present. Yeah, great turnout.
Okay, at 8.6 under the resolutions, I'm seeing that Mr. Hall's going to be going to Hershey.
Nobody get that for it yet.
Oh, I thought we did. I'm sorry.
We're on 7.
Okay, I was jumping the gun, sorry.
Just curious, when's your assistant starting?
She will need 2 weeks notice after this.
this.
She would like 3 ideally, so
Okay.
we will be discussing later this evening for the HR specialist.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? All right, roll call.
Mrs. Delaney? Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Mrs. Mungo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye on everything except 766, because I am a district-wide volunteer, and I will be unpaid, so I can't vote. I'm going to abstain on that piece alone.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
All right, ayes have it.
All right, we have administrative resolutions. Dr. Chakey's going to take section 8 and Mike will take section 9. So Dr. Chakey.
Thank you, Dr. Rossi. You recommend approval to accept the following 8.1 24-25 school calendar, 8.2 the Reach Higher Cengage Learning Inc., 8.3 Ready Set Go, 8.4 Learn Well Virtual Academic Support Services, 8.5 Obeas Bullying Prevention Student Questionnaire, 8.6 2 conferences listed, and 8.7 the MOU with the Allegheny County Transportation Agreement, which was added after the study session.
Administrative resolutions, 9.1, approve the Gateway Middle School change orders as listed. Item 9.2, closure of the Mosside Middle School as listed. Item 9.3, accept the athletic trainers proposal from Allegheny Clinic per the trainer's agreement as listed. Item 9.4, agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate to lease one room at the nurses' home at Mosside Middle School for a total of $29,664 for a period July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2027. Item 9.5, accept the tax appeal stipulation with Sbrm Monroeville Partners, Lot and Block 639, F as in Frank 75 as attached. Item 9.6, accept the donation to Chucky Mahoney Memorial Foundation. The amount is $3,000. It's for educational training to lower the depression and suicide rate among our youth at Dr. Cleveland Stewart Elementary School. Second item, accept $1,000 in the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank for food supplies for Gateway School District.
Second.
All right, questions?
Let me make a short comment about 9.5. That is the, so we understand, that's the Monroeville Mall. And we put a resolution together to do that because it's, I consider it significant. It's not the ordinary tax stipulation that you see with other cases that we settle or resolve in whatever manner. So I thought it was, I think it's important to memorialize that, and that's why we have the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dice.
I do have a question on 8.7. Why are we doing this MOU now?
Because we're required to do it for federal programs, and we were actually waiting on them. It was in their legal department, and we just received it.
Oh, okay. All right. And does this, and maybe nobody in this room actually knows the answer to this question. Does this agreement require us to go out of our, like if somebody goes to a private school or a charter school that we do not transport to?
The only thing is the homeless. The homeless would, there would be an issue, but primarily it's a 10-mile radius.
Okay, so this still falls under, okay, all right, thank you. I really, even though I work with this on the other end of it, didn't know the answer to that question.
And Robin, if I may tease out also 9.2 and 9.4. 9.2 talks about the closure, the official closure of the Mosside Middle School. That's a point in law that we have to do. We have to close the school. Once the school is officially closed from being a middle school, then other things could be done with it. And so 9.4 is one of the other things that could be done with it. That is, we're going to lease one room to the Allegheny Intermediate Unit for a nurse's office, and then other things as well. Correct, Dr. Russ? Correct.
Yep. And we could hold programs here of any sort.
That's how we do it.
The calendar doesn't have any conference days for the upper classes. It just says kindergarten.
There's no conferences
They don't have.
for secondary. Just elementary has parent-student teacher conferences.
What about? Isn't there like a meet the teacher?
That's not part of the official.
That's not.
Yeah. We will set those. Yeah, there'll be an open house, a meet the teacher night,
Yeah.
curriculum night, yeah, all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yep,
just
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask a question about the calendar? I know we're probably not there yet, but I've had people ask me this question, and I honestly told them, I don't know. People who want to use space in the school that are looking for the calendar to determine when the spaces are available. Are we going to be doing anything different because we have the middle school space available now that we didn't have before over at Gateway Middle? Or is that going to be off limits because it's new? There's been a lot of questions about that, so at some point, if we can't address it now, can we have that discussion?
The spaces will be open, obviously primarily for district use, but they will, Mosside will be open here as well,
So
so.
this space would still be available, they can rent the gym if they choose to,
Yes.
or whatever. And, okay.
And Cheryl, I can speak to that too.
Yes, please.
We do have a number of groups that have had to migrate onto this campus and share facilities, particularly sports teams and some of our music programs that we're short a gym while we didn't have the GMS gym open. So once that gym is open, we also have an auxiliary gym over there, a second gym. As you know, we feel like that's going to create a better flow for all those activities. And those that had previously been using the GMS gym, we would anticipate going back into using that gym. We'll have an extra gym. We have the fields available so we can get our middle school teams back over there. It should actually be significantly better, and I think we're going to utilize all those spaces in the new building
as well.
primarily with our district program.
I think what they're concerned about is the community-based programs that have used our facilities. With the new school, they just wondered how this was all going to work, and we've had some changes in staffing and personnel, and they just wanted to know specifically, when should they reach out to find out when they can use whatever space is going to be available? Is there a time frame you would suggest to the
That's a
public?
great question. That's a great question. I can say it. In all seriousness, I don't think it's ever too early to ask the question until the school is actually rendered hours and open. When we have that pass off, we think it might be the end of March kind of thing, or somewhat later. And right after that is when we would then, be able to start looking at those longer term reservations. But anything that's in the queue, could be held, until we were ready to approve it. Remember, there are three categories. There's the ones that are actually Gateway itself, the schools themselves. The second would be, high percentage being community members, so it's community based by definition. And then the third would be outside groups. So we do prioritize in that order.
Right.
And we don't charge rental for anyone except category C. So those groups that you're talking about, sounds like they're gateway groups. Sounds like they'd be people that would be using our facilities.
They're
at no
primarily
cost.
Category B.
Right, and that group would be able to start looking.
And they're just wondering how this is all going to play out, since we've got a lot more to.
Well, we can make an announcement in the spring.
Yeah.
Once we get,
I think that would be good for.
Yeah. We might want to give ourselves a buffer in the fall, maybe month of September or so, October.
Get everything, that we think is going to be there back where it needs to be, and then see what kind of.
I think they're just afraid. They don't want to jump on it now, knowing, but on the other hand, they don't want to wait too long and find out.
Absolutely understood.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, so any other questions? All right, so.
I did.
Go ahead.
Under the conferences, I see Mr. Hall's going to be going to Hershey. You bring back any samples or anything?
As far as you know,
Thank you.
I'll be happy to get whatever you need.
I just see, we're covering.
The way I understand it, I'm going to be working pretty much every minute of that conference, so I don't know that I'll have time to get to the chocolate factory, but if I do.
I think you could find time. Thank you. Easter's coming. Okay.
All right.
Nothing else.
Anything else? All right, roll call.
Seen you eat a morsel of food in 6 years here.
And you won't.
Nothing.
I just have to jab, that's all.
All right, roll call.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Ms. Mungo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Bova?
Aye.
Mrs. Burns?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney?
Aye. All right, ayes have it. And then next would be board member resolutions. We have none. Comments from residents on non-agenda items. I don't see anyone here.
Jeanette's here.
Oh. Hey, Jeanette, I didn't see you come in.
Snuck in. 6:30 start to these meetings would be great. For those of us that have kids we could drop off on ground.
You're not driving yet?
Yeah, we're not there yet. We're all close, but no snow yet.
Do you have anything you wanted to say? Okay, all right. Okay, so, Dr. Rossi.
We're getting text the mic out. We have just two quick slides.
Okay.
Mr. Bubba's going to touch base on the first one there. We had a meeting last week at Forbes, and they were able to recognize some of our Gateway students. So turn that over to Mr. Bubba. Yeah. You can turn you can turn the back ones on. Yeah. There we go.
Right, yes, we had our monthly meeting at Forbes, and unusually we had a little presentation, and it was related to both the Future Business Leaders of America competitions, Regional 11, and the Skills USA competitions, District 8. And Gateway students, and there's a few of them I'm going to list, did a wonderful job in the FBLA competition.
In first place, Skylar Mike Wilson for Intro to Infotech. Jake Brew, Networking Infrastructure. Second place was Matthew Goss, Computer Problem Solving. And then in the District 8 Skills USA competition, we had some folks who were able to go straight to states, and one of them was from Gateway. It was Aiden Gerhardt in Career Pathways, Business and Tech. And the second place was Matthew Goss in Cybersecurity. And third place was Nathan Janako in Auto Refinishing. So congratulations to them, great job, and good luck in the future as they go through the next steps of this competition.
Nice.
Great.
Some internships here.
Yeah, there's a lot of useful stuff in there. Absolutely, it's a great program.
Yeah.
And one of the other things they did touch on in the news recently was a program that Westmoreland Community College is orchestrating involving a teacher prep program through the VOTEC program. So Forbes is looking into that very quickly and diligently, expecting to be able to put on such a thing sooner rather than later, which would be great for our kids and obviously in staffing for teachers. So.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Thank you.
And we just have one other quick announcement that is registration for kindergarten is open. There's a kindergarten fun night in the spring, but the only way you can get invited to that is if you register. So we have your name and address. More information is on our website. If you go to our district, go to registration, and all the information is listed there for the parents.
All right.
Is preschool registration, is that open also?
Same thing, yep. Yep, same thing, yep.
Address. Do you have anything else?
That's
All right, so board reports. The Finance Committee had a meeting. Did you want to talk about that?
Sure. We had a meeting last week and we had one of the lawyers come in who helps us with the assessment stuff, and he had a long discussion about the common level ratio. Mike, you want to mention a little bit more about that? Because I know that really, it's a big impact into the budget, which is why we're having the discussion.
Yeah, we had Lee Dellicker come in from RYSO just to do a short explanation on the common level ratio last week, and it was very interesting. I learned a lot. There's a lot of things that we picked up on, different things we can do moving forward to try to ease some of the pain, all the assessments that are going on, within Allegheny County at the present time, because the common level ratio basically is 54.5% this year. They try to get a house. The base year is 2012, so if you buy a house right now for $200,000, they're going to back it off down a little less than $100,000, which the value would have been in 2012. There's a simple version of it. Robin can explain the long-term version of it.
Oh my
She
goodness,
was in
it was, I was impressed, like my head exploded.
Yeah.
Because and I think it'd be a great presentation if we can put it out to the public, and and correct me if I'm wrong, assessments need to be done every 3 years.
Right.
The last time we've had county assessments were 2012.
Right.
So, think about that. Because at the end of the day, when it's time to, we're talking about the budget and what we're going to spend, our providers, our vendors are not giving us the 2012 prices.
Exactly.
Paying 2023 prices. But we're paying, from our assessments back in 2012. So, sometimes we're looked at as the bad guy when it's time to raise taxes, because we want to have good quality education and a building and everything that comes with taking care of our community and our kids. But it's a hard balancing act. We got community on one shoulder, our kids on the other shoulder, and we're trying to make the best decision. But we haven't had any assessments since 2012, and they're supposed to do it every 3 years. Like, I want to charter a bus, and all the school districts, the board members go to Harrisburg and protest.
And that is a the politics plays into the education of the children, which should not.
Yeah,
So-
it makes us look like the bad guy.
It does. So like every county executive that has come in and they wanted it and then it's not politically good for them and then they get elected and nothing happens. And then local municipalities, school districts, the whole way across Allegheny County are looking at the bad guys, where if it was assessed properly, then we might not have to raise taxes. You know, and then people that shouldn't be getting their taxes raised because we raised straight across the board.
That's a good way to say it.
And possibly, you know, this could be avoided to some families who are struggling a little bit more or their assessment is a little bit lower and shouldn't have that. We don't have an option. So when they say get out and vote, it is very important, even at a county and local level, not just the presidency, because it is important to your tax dollars and where they go and why we have to keep raising the mills and the taxes. And we might not have to do that if the people above us would do their job correctly and not play politics with your children.
I think, Mike, too, that the public needs to understand that this sometimes causes, especially if people are challenging assessments, for us to literally have to return money.
Right.
And I think the public is not aware that we
Especially
return money.
Commercial properties adhere to different rules than residential properties because they're allowed to use their profit or lack of profit to get their assessments lowered. So that's a whole different animal.
Right.
And I mean, we've had some big cases that Mr. Dice's office just settled in Monroeville Mall. We were fortunate that the board had the wisdom three years ago to start putting money away to be prepared for this, or it would have killed us, to be honest with you. And getting back to the common level ratio, we're the only state left in the United States that does this. Every 49 out of states have a fair and equitable way for school tax. We're the only one left to use an antiquated system. And I agree with everybody. It's hurting our students. We're fortunate enough that we have enough new properties coming on board. We're just staying, we're revenue neutral because of that. There could be a lot of great things happening if we could get the money that we're actually entitled to, you know, above and beyond what we're already doing. Right. I mean, we're stretched to the limits and we're getting a lot out. We're getting a lot of bang for our buck, I feel, for everything we do. We spend it on. Our students are getting well educated. But it could be better if we wouldn't have to fight this every year.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, is there some way we can put together a public presentation where, I mean, even if the public can just view it on their own? I thought this was very valuable. And if it gets to 10 people, that's 10 more people that didn't know.
I agree with you. I mean, I've talked to some colleagues of mine, other school districts, it's killing them. They don't have the new construction coming in like we do. So some school districts, they're going to have to get rid of it. My prior school district, when this happened at the Mills Mall, we had to lay people off. It killed us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the presentation for someone new into this, I thought if we could get him to come and explain, he did a really clear, concise explanation. He was very good.
Yeah.
I'll get something together.
Maybe we can want to fight the power.
She's running school buses to go to
You didn't record it when we shared, did you?
No.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm not like going to play the devil's advocate here, but we don't have many people from the community. I seem to remember a woman bought a house in Monroeville.
Yep.
And she discovered what happens when a house that hadn't been assessed for years gets assessed after you bought it, and she was not happy with the taxes she had to pay.
Yes, I remember.
So if the community were here right now, I'm pretty sure most of them would say we pay a lot in taxes, not just school district, but through the state, through all the other ways. And basically, no matter what formula is used, we're going to wind up getting a similar amount of money. So, people say the state needs to give the school district more money. Well, the state doesn't have a printing press in Harrisburg. That money's coming from us one way or the other. So if we're going to do this presentation, I'd like to, also have the community have an opportunity to say, all right, well, how are you spending our money? Because that's what's going to happen.
You know, it's funny you said that, because today I got for basic ed funding next year's going on in the state, and there was a new funding formula based on a bunch of criteria. So we are going to get additional funding through that, which is going to be a little bit of a help.
I think in any situation, we have to trim the fat.
Right.
And we don't want to sacrifice quality, but, you know, I think about when, and I'm sure many of you have had someone come to you and say, are you going to raise the taxes? It's not you, it's not you, it's not me, it's not any of us. It's the system that we're working with.
Right, exactly.
And as long as, I think, if they understand that, some will respect it, some will be disappointed, but at the end of the day, Jack Bova did not raise the taxes. Susan Delaney did not raise the taxes. But you will be the person.
Well, we've discussed this for years now.
Yeah.
That's why there's turnover on a board typically, and why school board members typically don't make good candidates for other political offices.
You're right.
Because somewhere in their history, they've raised taxes once, twice, 3 times, and nobody wants to hear that.
Because we were under-assessed.
Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons. It's a system, it's assessment, it's the fact that expenses keep going up, but we live in an area where our revenue's relatively flat. Call it stable, call it stagnant, call it what you will. But all the folks who work in this district, all the supplies we buy, everything is more expensive.
Absolutely.
And we simply don't have a magic way of keeping pace with those expenses. We have one tool, essentially. So when you use that tool, you will most likely lose in one election or two, because someone will say, look at that, they raised the taxes, let's get someone else in there. And then 10 minutes after they're here, they say, oh, yeah, I guess we have to raise taxes. So
Yeah, but
it's
I
just
like,
the nature of the beast.
you know what, Jack, this gentleman, the way he explained it, he explained that we live next door to the people whose taxes we're raising. But he explained the problem at the state level. We have the most legislators of any state out of 50 states.
We're the biggest full-time legislature I've read in the world.
And staff.
Yes, and so no one's fixing that. John goes to Harrisburg every year and has a list of issues, and I'm sure occasionally that's on there, maybe, maybe not. The problem is the people we send to Harrisburg have to be the people who say, let's figure out a way to trim this. Very few people cut their own jobs.
True. But sometimes it's nice to go to Harrisburg and not send them a letter because they won't pay attention, and we just truck over there and sit in their office and say, this is really your fault.
Yeah.
You know, and point to them instead of them always saying, school districts. No, it's not the school districts, it's them. And county. We can all trek down to Allegheny County and go to one of their meetings and say the same thing to them, because they are really guilty.
Yeah, well, it was a good presentation.
It was excellent. It was excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Any other committee meetings?
Just for the future, March 11th, we are starting the early bird negotiations with GEA. So that's before our March meeting.
And just a reminder for Buildings and Grounds, all the school board members, March the 7th, we're still on. At 3 o'clock, the board gets to tour Gateway Middle School. And I don't know if any point, do we want to talk about the name of that building?
We're going to have to.
It's going to be the Jack Bova Memorial Middle School. I thought we had decided.
One event is on Memorial.
Actually, there's a process for that, and we may have missed the deadline.
I was just going to say, my personal opinion, knowing Mr. Macarelli,
Yeah.
he would say to you, as we leave that building, no matter where we go, we are Gateway Gators. Because I got to know him as a PTA president, and I think he would be very happy to leave it that way. But at some point, we want to put a plaque up
Sure.
next to the auditorium or the gym or something in his honor in the years he was principal, because my kids did have him as principal. I think that would be great. But we leave that building no matter where we go, we're Gateway Gators.
Yeah, because parents have been reaching out and asking just today even what we're going to do as far as the name and all, and many of them are expressing that they'd like to just leave it still.
I think the original, I'm sorry, the original email I thought was just just as that, like a plaque, maybe out at an auditorium or gymnasium. But I think the lettering and everything's already has been ordered.
We paid for that.
Yeah, it's already ordered. And there's a PD process when you change the name.
Right, we haven't really discussed that publicly,
Right.
but now everybody knows. And I understand their point, he was there for a very long time, and I got to know him too. But I'm telling you, the man thinks we're Gators, you know, black
We
and
started
gold.
building the building 3 years ago. This comes up like
Just
right
2
when
seconds
we're,
ago.
yeah, right when we're trying to open it, like.
Leslie, people didn't realize that the process, they thought that you slapped a plaque on it, we just called it whatever. So they didn't realize there was a
That we
time
had to
frame.
order the signs?
And what's that?
That we had to order the sign.
Well, yes, the sign apparently is relatively minimal in terms of this process. The PDE process is sort of the problem, and the folks in the community didn't know that. I didn't realize that until this moment. I actually thought, I'd say, yeah, let's just buy whatever the plaque is, but by the way, for the record, I'm opposed to naming buildings after anyone. If you name, Cleveland Stewart, a wonderful person, but every time you name a building after one person, sort of by comparison, the other people that didn't get it named after them suffer a bit. So Gateway's had legions of wonderful educators and administrators come through. If the community wants one, okay, they've made it clear that they would, but we've heard from 3 or 4 or 6 or 8 or 12 people. We're a community of how many thousands, so.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, Dr. Rossi, maybe if you just put up the name, I drove by there today, there's nothing on that marquee. Maybe we slap up Gateway Middle School, it'll stop the whole conversation. It'll be over with.
When this word gets out, people will be back here.
Dedicated to the unknown teacher.
Are they gonna do anything with, it's already on the building, 2023, were they gonna change that to 2024?
Talk to them about that because it's already up.
I know. It's false advertising.
Yeah.
No, I just want to say one other thing. Our basketball team didn't do well in the Whitfield playoffs, but they are playing, is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's Wednesday and it's here again. It's a win and you're in, and lose and you're out. 7 teams make it in 5A basketball into the state tournament. We made the quarterfinals by beating Penn Hills. We lost in the quarterfinals. The 4 teams that lost in the quarterfinals then played for those 3 spots. So we lost our first game to Bethel Park in a little tough one, 55-53 on Saturday. So now, rather than being 5th or 6th, we're fighting to be 7th. And that's this Wednesday.
Where will that be?
That'll be here, 7 o'clock Wednesday night, Sports Complex. We're also hosting a doubleheader for Whitfield semifinals tomorrow. The 2A boys and the 6A boys. They're both playing in our gym tomorrow night. It's on 22 Point, and then again we go on Wednesday.
Anyone else?
Well, I'm not sure. I was trying to get to Michael. Michael, are you there? Susan Delaney?
I'm here.
Shoot him a little clip, like a 1-minute clip of the program that they had at the high school for the Black History program. And he said it was grainy, but he did say you could hear the music. So you didn't see the last ones I sent, did you?
I only was able to get this one.
Okay, I tried WhatsApp and I couldn't figure out how to get stuff to you. But we can hear maybe a little of it.
Yeah, I'll play it now.
Okay. What it is, it's a multimedia, so you had visual as well as.
Was all students invited?
No, actually, history classes, some English classes, music classes, about 300 so.
300.
Yeah, that was just, I had other clips, but I couldn't. Oh, well.
May I ask one quick thing, Mr. Hall? Has anybody come to you about the running programs that a lot of the school districts do in relationship to Pittsburgh Marathon for the younger kids? Has anybody presented that
I did
concept?
see that, whether it was an email or something that was forwarded to me. No one's approached me directly. And I could certainly do some research and talk to some colleagues about what they're.
Because there are people in the district parents that are involved with the marathon, and they've talked about this before. And we're always looking like, especially in the middle school, the 7th and 8th grade are part of what deals in the sports, the 5th and 6th don't. But running is a cheap sport, and all these other sports involve running. So if you want, I can have somebody forward you some of the information, because I believe some of our surrounding neighbors participate.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'll make sure they get that to you.
Robin, are you still fishing for reports?
Yes.
Okay, so Cheryl, you have a report that we gave our signed document to the PSBA saying that we're going to
Yes.
adhere to some
Yes.
principles, and they're going to send us back some sort of a poster. Is that it?
Yes, it's up now. It fell down earlier.
It's up for good now.
Janet got it up for good. When I came in tonight, it was down. But that is all of the ethical guidelines that we're supposed to, and the thing, right next to it, there's a laminated one that we signed. I don't think we want to sign the big one because from, every 2 years, things change with school board. Right, but the one next to it is us with all our signatures, and that's what we got from the PSBA. And those are all the guidelines we've agreed to follow, the ethical guidelines.
Very good, okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when I came in tonight, just trying to get it up, it fell off the wall. So it's up now, good.
That's nice.
All right, so number 2, we've got that PSBA Advocacy Day coming up, and I wanted the board to say, go ahead and think about things that we want to carry to the state legislature. So if you've got any issues, let's toss them to me, let's, trim them down, let's turn them into bullets, and let's.
Okay, I think Leslie's going to be going
And
also.
Don Hall, you said you would drive us out there in one of the vans?
I said,
Non-passenger.
available.
So,
As long as your driving record's been cleaned up.
I'm just saying, it would be so nice for like 2, 3, 4, 5 of the school board members all to go out together. It's never been done in the history of the world. What's that?
What's the date again?
Sure, it's
April 7th?
April 8th.
April 8th.
Capitol, the state capitol.
I plan on going.
No, I can't, I agree.
When do we
with
see
you. I'm not gonna be-
We do have 2 vans that we do use for various reasons to transport smaller groups. That seems like rather than a
That's nice.
bus, that's an easy one.
That would be,
We have those available.
so,
When do we need to turn in our names that want to attend?
well, you should register. I mean, we get those emails about once or twice a week from PSBA, and you page down and it says, do you want to register to go to the thing? Just hit, it takes about 30 seconds to put your name and your Gateway email address in. That's all you need to do, and then you're registered. And then they know you're from Gateway, so they know which state senators and state representatives and nearby groups to team you with. So they build your schedule for you, and then when you get out there, they walk you to wherever you're supposed to go. So they make it really easy for newbies.
Mike, what does it take to get on the insurance to drive a
I
vehicle?
just need your driver's license. That once that you clear that, then I add you to the insurance.
Okay.
All right, so I have 2 more items. Unfortunately, Jake Kucha died a couple of days ago. That's the younger brother of Demi Kucha, whose picture we have up in the hallway. She suffered pretty horribly a bunch of years back from a terrible, terrible incident. Well, now her younger brother just died a couple of days ago, and the funeral's going to be held out in Murraysville. And so Jake's sister
Sage.
graduated with my daughter. And Jake graduated with my brother Joe's daughter. So we all it's, we all know each other here. So our hearts go out to the Kucha family again. Okay, the last one is, Jack, you mentioned a really good issue here with respect to there's no magic wand to make things work. Well, strangely enough, I was in church yesterday, and this came up. After it was the annual business meeting, we need to come up with a lot of millions of dollars to fix the things that break from time to time and pay down the big debt, and we're all scratching our heads thinking, money, money, money. We don't want to focus on money. Is there a way out of this? And all of a sudden, it just hit me, and I said, Pastor, I think I have something that might help here. And so I said, it's true that some of the people in church tithe, and it's true that some of the people in church don't tithe. If the people that don't tithe would find a way to be obedient to God and trust Him, He would find a way to honor them the way he's honoring the folks who are bending over backwards and giving the first of their fruits to the Lord. And so I strongly encourage you to trust the Lord by, tithing. It's difficult, of course it's difficult, but put God in a position where he's able to honor you. So that same principle seems to apply here. That is, aren't we a school that does some pretty good things? Don't we keep track of the money, and aren't we trying to do noble, valiant things by educating kids? This is a good work, and it deserves God to notice and find a way to bless us somehow. Now, I don't know what those are. We all don't know what those are. But by us continuing to be honorable and valiant and diligent and, pinching our pennies and trying to do our best for the kids and for the teachers, these are good things that God can honor. So I don't know how he'll do it, but I expect that he's noticed that for a long, long time, and he's kept his hand of blessing on us. And so let's be diligent to keep humble and keep serving, the students and the teachers and the staff. That's good, and that's useful, and that's right. So there are ways that money does come to us. We don't know what all those are. We really don't. He does, and that's a good thing.
Speaking of ways of money, Dr. Rossi, did anything come of the Gateway Foundation? Mike, are we still in limbo?
This week or next week?
Are we meeting this week?
We're
Speaking of
meeting.
ways for money to come in.
This Thursday, we're meeting.
We are meeting
With the core group.
the core group
Yep.
and discuss,
Yep.
because that is enough.
By March, we'll have at least a little presentation or some more information.
Because that's talking about alternative ways for monies to come in the district. Okay, good to
All
hear.
right. Any other, one more.
This weekend at the David Lawrence Convention Center, they're having the first robotics competition, and Gateway's robotics team will be present there. And I've been to them, and they are awesome. They do a great job with the robots and everything. So if you get time, check it out.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
What day is it?
Saturday. All
Saturday.
right. I need a motion.
I second it.
Oh,
Just real quick, I apologize. Just want to mention that sometimes in the board report you get things that have happened, sometimes you get things that are coming up. We did have the polar plunge last week with our special ed folks and our Special Olympians, led by our Unified Bocce group. Some great pictures came back. That entire evolution had a goal of $750,000 raised for Special Olympics. They raised over $1 million. And our people were a big part of that. Some great stuff, and shout out to them. We mentioned basketball already. Swimming is now coming up on their Whitfield events. That happens later this week, swimming and diving down at Pitt. We're hoping that they all do well. A lot of athletes have made the cut to make that, which is not easy to do. And then the other part that's pretty exciting is March 4th is the beginning of spring sports, permissible mandatory practice. So our baseball, softball, track, boys volleyball, tennis for the girls, lots of different things. Getting ready to get started. I'm for the boys, excuse me. Getting ready to get started up as well.
thank you.
One question, did you do the polar plunge?
I did not.
Okay, just wondered.
I did it for 5 years. I used to be with the Special Olympics torch run. In law enforcement, we would plunge.
Guys, don't run out the door. We need to get that picture.
All in favor of the board doing
All
the
in-
polar plunge?
All right, so we had
we
a
done?
motion, a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion adjourned.